Good afternoon and welcome to the informational webinar for RFQL 4922, Disadvantaged Communities Consultant Pool. Today, you will be hearing from Lisa Romero, Lori Clark, and Michelle Felicia, all from NYSERDA's Energy and Climate Equity team, an overview of the solicitation and application process. There will be pauses throughout the presentation to respond to questions. Participants may ask questions using the chat feature. Click the chat icon in the lower right corner of your screen or click the raise hand icon at the bottom of the screen. I will read the question, the facilitator will read the chat question or call upon the raise hand participant to unmute and ask the question. With that, I will turn it over to Lisa Romero.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon. As John mentioned, my name is Lisa Romero, and together with my colleagues Lori Clark and Michelle Felicia, we will be presenting this informational webinar regarding NYSERDA's RFQL 4922 on the DAC consultant pool, which was issued on August 21st of 2025. Today's agenda will cover the following topics. We'll provide an objective of this webinar, which is really to inform those interested in applying to the RFQL 4922. We'll learn about NYSERDA's climate equity strategy. We'll present an overview of the DAC consulting pool, including illustrating a use case example of how awarded consultants will be contracted. We'll review the entire application process step by step. We'll answer and clarify questions both throughout the presentation and during the designated Q&A portion of this webinar related to the RFQL solicitation, application, or process. And then we'll close out by sharing some next steps. Are there any questions before I pass it on to my colleague, Michelle Felicia? If not, Michelle, take it away.
Hi, everyone. I'm Michelle Felicia. I serve on NYSERDA's Energy and Climate Equity team. We just wanted to be sure to start here by providing a broader context today so that everyone has a shared understanding of the way that the Disadvantaged Communities Consultant Pool fits into the bigger picture at NYSERDA. The Disadvantaged Communities Consultant Pool is part of a broader theory of change for achieving an inclusive clean energy transition in New York State. To understand NYSERDA's vision for an inclusive clean energy transition, we look at where we are today and envision the desired future. The strategy bringing the two together is our climate equity strategy as represented in the center circle on this slide. So starting from the left side, we see the disadvantaged communities systematically excluded from climate investment decision-making, even though they are disproportionately burdened by climate change and cycles of disinvestment across the energy and economic systems. Whereas in our envisioned future, disadvantaged communities are co-leading, developing, and reaping the benefits of an inclusive and equitable clean energy economy. That space in between those two states is where we take action implementing NYSERDA's climate equity strategy, organizing our activities around three pillars of equity: structural equity, procedural equity, and distributional equity. One slide, please. So for those of you who might not be as familiar with this approach to equity, I'll review these pillars briefly. Advancing structural equity refers to making changes to state policy and operations that result in intentional prioritization of frontline communities to repair historic disinvestment. Advancing procedural equity refers to designing inclusive pathways for meaningful community stakeholder input to help shape NYSERDA decisions that impact the lives of those in the communities. And advancing distributional equity refers to foundational shifts in NYSERDA investment and programs to reduce burden and increase benefit to frontline communities. One slide, please. NYSERDA's climate equity strategy is operationalized through internally facing initiatives and externally facing programs informed by and designed to build on those pillars of equity. The smaller white circles in this diagram represent initiatives and programs associated with each pillar of equity. Some of these are led by NYSERDA's Energy and Climate Equity team, and some of these the Energy and Climate Equity team co-leads with other NYSERDA program teams or state agencies. All of these initiatives and programs are in one way or another focused on intentionally prioritizing frontline communities, creating opportunities for meaningful feedback from and engagement with communities, and ensuring community participation in and benefits of clean energy. The smaller circle highlighted entirely in gold with an arrow underneath highlights the strategic need to compensate environmental justice and disadvantaged community representatives for their time and experience when advising NYSERDA or providing other services essential to ensuring an inclusive clean energy transition. The Disadvantaged Communities Consultant Pool is the primary mechanism NYSERDA employs to compensate environmental justice and disadvantaged community representatives. And I'll pass it over to my colleagues to provide a bit more detail about the pool. Next slide, please.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. So the purpose of the DAC consultant pool is to establish a pool of qualified organizations that represent DACs to work with NYSERDA. Once organizations become pre-qualified, the pool will make it easier and more efficient to compensate our disadvantaged community partners. Important to note here, NYSERDA does not guarantee that all services will be requested or that all selected contractors will receive work pursuant to the umbrella agreements. This is stated specifically in the solicitation under program requirements. Awarded contracts will be executed for $0 and extend through the agreement expiration date of December 31st, 2030. These organizations will be contracted by NYSERDA program teams through task work orders for a variety of services, such as those listed on the slide: consultation, providing input on programs and policies, facilitating community sessions, and participating in working groups. The work scope, timeline, and compensation will be clearly outlined for each task work order and will vary across activities. The RFQL will remain open through December 31st of 2030, with applications reviewed by a scoring committee on a quarterly basis. Are there any questions? I want to pause here and just, I know we're sharing a lot. And if there are no, oh, yes, I'll take advantage and answer Mr. Bernardo's question. Will the slides be shared, made public? Yes, they will. After the webinar, we will post them on our website. And Adam, yes, I'm sorry, we should have specified that at the beginning. So with regards to the specific quarterly application review dates, they're just going to be on a quarterly basis. So the application launched in August. The first scoring review we're going to have is in September, and then it'll be 3 months quarterly thereafter. We're trying to remain flexible in our quarterly review. Does that answer your question, Chad? Okay. Okay, great. And if there are no more, I will pass it on back to my colleague, Michelle. Thank you.
Okay, let's move forward one slide. So we wanted to provide a successful example of how the pool has been utilized so far to bring disadvantaged community representative voices to the table. Some of you probably already are aware, New York State is producing a state energy plan that provides broad policy direction to guide energy-related decision-making across the state. And the upcoming plan looks out to 2040. It focuses on strategies to meet future energy needs and advance economy-wide decarbonization while balancing reliability, affordability, environmental and public health impacts, and economic growth. So the plan will also lay out the state's environmental and climate justice related analytical findings and strategies. One slide. Because NYSERDA recognizes the role that public policy has played in perpetuating inequities faced by historically marginalized communities, the State Energy Plan team wanted to listen and learn from participants in the Disadvantaged Community Consultant Pool, to learn from lived experience, and to inform plan development. So to inform the State Energy Plan specifically, NYSERDA is engaging a group of community-based organization advisors who represent disadvantaged communities across multiple regions of the state. This is one of the ways that public engagement is being employed in the state energy planning process, especially with communities who have been historically left out of energy planning. The group of advisors on disadvantaged communities for the state energy plan were contracted through the Disadvantaged Community Consultant Pool. And from March to May this year, NYSERDA hosted 4 virtual engagement sessions to engage advisors on high priority plan topics. These meetings occurred during draft plan development, allowing advisors to provide input directly to chapter teams while plan content was still under development. Additional sessions are being conducted now, as the draft plan has already been released. Advisors were compensated for both participation in meetings and for preparation and follow-up work performed related to the draft scope of the plan. One slide. We can take a closer look at what topics these advisors have focused on throughout this engagement so far, and looking out a little bit further. The state energy plan process kicked off around the end of 2024 with the release of a draft scope for the plan that detailed what it would include and analyze. NYSERDA engaged the community-based organization advisors shortly after that to kick off the series of engagements and to introduce them to the planning process and to the draft scope. Their initial input on the scope was gathered at that time. And then in spring of 2025, the plan scope was finalized and incorporated public comments more broadly. At that time, interagency chapter teams were developing draft chapters, so advisors met with members of those interagency chapter teams to discuss the priority draft plan chapter topics that you see on the left side of this slide. This allowed community-based organizations to give input directly to teams for consideration as draft chapters were developed. They discussed clean energy jobs, economic development considerations, building decarbonization, and the breadth of topics included in the environmental and climate justice chapter specifically. Currently, the draft plan has been released publicly, and after giving advisors time to review, they are meeting together for engagement sessions on the chapters the advisors themselves expressed the most interest in discussing. Chapter teams are again involved and will be presenting and discussing their chapter content to hear directly from the CBO advisors during these sessions. In addition, a little bit further down the road, there will be a session discussing the public accessibility of the plan, now that there's a draft document out and the broader public engagement strategy is planned and underway. So that's our example of how the pool has been deployed so far in a successful way to bring community voices to the table. Lisa, I'll pass it back over to you.
Thank you, Michelle. I would like to acknowledge some of the chat questions. So Lori responded to the question about when in September will the first review take place. Tom, I see you have a question regarding, can you share a list of DAC advisors? Can you please clarify your question? Are you talking about the current list of advisors?
Yes, Lisa. So Lisa, Tom responded, yes, he's looking for the current list of advisors. The pool organizations, I believe. Is that posted publicly on our ECE team webpage? Okay.
It is not to date.
Okay.
And that's something that we can look to do after this next round.
So thank you, Tom. We will get that list out on our ECE webpage. Any other questions? You can always raise your hand and John can unmute you, or you can drop it in the chat. Okay, so let's move on. Thank you, John. So let's specifically, I'm not going to go over each revision because they are here on the slide deck, but I certainly want to highlight a few that we feel are important to mention. So we streamline a full proposal to an application that contains 10 drop-down and 6 open text questions. So that should make it easier for community-based organizations to apply. It is now an open enrollment, which will allow for a continuous flow of CBOs into the pool. We removed honorarium compensation language, which compensated organizations and individuals. We established standardized meeting and non-meeting reimbursement rates, providing an equitable payment structure for all DAC pool consultants. Rates are based on the length of time in meeting participation, hourly non-meeting activities, plus other allowable expenses as outlined in task work orders. The revision is based on the contractor rate analysis review of each current awarded CBO, which was under Exhibit E, the budget and project personnel rate schedule, coupled with consistent activity and use of existing DAC stakeholder meeting reimbursement. We also expedited the contract awards through simplified and streamlined evaluation process. Next slide, John. The eligibility was revised to include New York State or federally recognized Indigenous nations, as well as Indigenous-led organizations. The RFQ also contains a definition section. So the community-based organization has a definition for the purpose of this solicitation. A community-based organization refers to a private, nonprofit, or for-profit organization registered to do business in New York State aimed at making desired improvements to a community's social health, well-being, and overall functioning, is representative of a community or significant segments of a community, and provides services to individuals in the community based on input from community members, such as grassroots, advocacy, faith-based groups, coalitions based in and or serving DAC, social welfare organizations, civic leagues, labor organizations, Indigenous-led organizations, social community groups, and Chamber of Commerce. Next slide, please, Sean. Applicants that have existing contracts with NYSERDA for distinct scopes of work are eligible to apply. However, no work included in a pre-existing contract with NYSERDA will be assigned or compensated under an agreement resulting from this RFQL. All applicants will need to use the NYSERDA portal to submit an application. Returning users can log into the portal, and then new users will need to create an account. If you already have a NYSERDA portal account, you log in with your email. So for example, it would be johnsmith@aol.com.NYSERDA. The .NYSERDA triggers it that it is allowable into NYSERDA's portal. Next slide, please, John. To register, you are required to complete this form. This is a screenshot of when you click to create a new account, looking for the company information, the contact, and then you create your password, giving you access to the portal for additional solicitations, if there are any. Next slide, please. Applicants are required to add a primary contact and/or contract signer. you would click the Add a Contract button there, and we'll go into the next page that'll show that. Please do not add the entire organization's staff list here. And the portal uses the term, I want to say, the portal uses the term throughout, a proposal. However, this is a simplified proposal, which we are referring to as an application. Next slide, please. So this is where, when you hit the Add a Contact, you're going to put in the information. Notifications and correspondence will be sent to the email address of the primary contact person. Please input all the fields with an asterisk, and down below where it says tax identification type, if you click EIN, that'll open up a box for you to enter the EIN. If you are an individual with a DBA, you would click your SSN, and that'll give you instructions to contact our contracts department to submit a Social Security number. Next slide, John. After saving the contact information, a small window is going to pop up, and it appears as this. It appears as this screenshot. It's the vendor assurance of no conflict of interest. You would scroll down, you would read everything, and at the bottom you would indicate yes, there's a conflict, or no, there's no conflict, and then you would click Save. And that will bring you to the next slide. So I recommend for every page that you read the blue text box. There's some help questions. There's our help guidance for answering some of the questions below. So in particular, this is the first one for proposal. There's the term proposal. Title, you're going to include the organization name. The proposed proposal category, there is just one category, and you will select Disadvantaged Communities Consultant. The proposer company information, that has a word count maximum of 100 words. And then for the proposal description, we're requesting that you enter RFQL 4922. Applicants may save and edit this application prior to submission. So if you're working on it and you need to do something else, you can save it and access it at a later date. Next slide, please. Applicants are required to answer each question. There is a couple slides of the checklist questions. If yes for questions 2 through 16B is selected, you'll be required to respond in an open text field that will appear if you select yes. And we will just quickly kind of go through this slide just to show you what questions will be asked when you're submitting your application. John, could you go to the next? And one more, please, John. So for this slide, if you respond yes to question 17, 18, 19, and no to question 21, please respond in the box after the question. If you respond no to questions 17, 18, 19, and yes to 21, please enter NA in the text box for questions 17A, 18A, 19A, and 21A. And I've highlighted here where the NA would be added. Answer question 20 or enter NA in that text box. If a response or an NA is not included in the text field, you will not be able to proceed with the application. Next slide, Jen. On this one, when you click no, an open text box will appear. And then when you click no, I'm sorry, the open text box disappears. If you click yes, please complete the text box with the name of the governmental agency or authority. Next slide. Okay, so I know there's been quite a few questions in the chat, so I'm just going to kind of back up here. My agency is located in Rochester, and I have been overwhelmed by questions pertaining to electric cost. Is this program possibly going to assist with the blight of empowered people's concerns? So that's Clara. This is a pool for your agency to be a part of that then would be called upon by NYSERDA program teams to engage with the community members. I don't know if you've had a chance to review the RFQL, but there's a few examples of what an agency might do. And I don't know if you want to come off mute, Clara. Okay. You can also contact your local regional hub, and you're in Rochester, so that would be the accelerator or the Genesee Finger Lakes Climate Accelerator, if you're aware of who your local hub is. Chad, can you comment on Doreen Harris's current letter to the Indigenous Nations of New York State requesting to meet with them and this RFQL? Is there intent to promote this RFQL during requested meetings as a means of contributing to the state energy plans moving forward?
Lori, I can jump in here. This is
Thanks.
Michelle Felicia. So in the state energy plan meetings with nation leaders, we are promoting the disadvantaged community consultant pool. We're sharing that information and the follow-up that goes out to the nation leaders as we are with a number of other active stakeholder communities.
Thank you, Michelle. Can you register as a vendor as an individual and organization? Do you mean, Brian, register in NYSERDA's portal?
I think those two things are one and the same.
Right.
So when you go to apply to participate in the Disadvantaged Community Stakeholder Services Pool, you are applying on behalf of your organization, and if the application process goes through and you are participating in the pool, then you register as a vendor at NYSERDA or through NYSERDA so that there's a mechanism through which to compensate your organization.
Are there any hands raised, John?
I don't see any currently.
Thank you. Any more questions? Okay. All right, if we could move to the next slide, please. So now we'll go through the rest of the application. The eligibility criteria is a drop-down, and you can choose a CBO, Indigenous Nation, or Indigenous-led organizations. Those are the three categories for the applicant to select as the criteria. The Regional Economic Development Council region is where the organization is located. Please select that. and then select all counties that your organization serves, because we understand that some local CBOs cut across REDCs, and you could have, the county in Southern Tier and also be in the Central New York. So we're asking to select all the counties that are served. The populations served. We're going to go to the next slide. You can choose up to 4. So the population served is quite a lengthy list. You can choose up to 4 in that drop-down list. Any other populations that you serve can be included as an attachment in a document that you will upload under the required documents. The next slide. So now speaking about the other drop-downs, we have technical area experience, cross-sector, applied skills, as well as budget categories. And we're going to talk about them on the next couple of slides. Applicants are required to respond to the open text questions within 300 to 500 words. I strongly encourage applicants to click on the information icon. So that question mark, the black little circle with the question mark, please click on that. It gives you further guidance. Some of the open text questions require examples, and that would be your attachments. Next slide, please. Here's the technical areas expertise. That is a drop-down list that you will be able to select 3 out of this list. And if there are additional technical areas of expertise you have, you can include that in a separate document. You would include it actually with the population served. So it'd be one document that would say population served, whatever, in addition to the 3 selected, the same as technical expertise. Next slide, John. Cross-sector, applied skills, experience. You can select all of them or the ones that you have the experience in. There's no limit. And the annual operating budget category would be for the past year, the previous year, whatever your annual operating budget was for the previous year. Next slide. And these are the last 2 open text questions. There are 2 examples of the organization's experience in the conduct and delivery of similar services is required. So if you were to hover over that icon, it would tell you that that is required to be submitted. Next slide, please. Very important, I can't stress enough to please read the help text in the blue box. The name of files, the name of each file can be no more than 80 characters. For the list of organizational team members in leadership roles, just include their titles. Just make it one document. The next one for resumes for each team member, listed no more than 2 pages for each individual, or a description of relevant lived experience, no more than 300 words. And that can be that has to be just one document uploaded. Next slide. Optional documents is the disclosure statement. The IRS W-9 will either collect it here if you so wish, or we'll collect it upon if we move to contract negotiation. And here is the one document. If you have additional population served or technical areas, please make sure it's one document and upload it there. as well as access to NYSERDA's internal networks. So we can collect it here, or we can collect it during contract negotiations. Next slide. So after all the necessary files are uploaded and the authorization signature page will summarize all the information you entered so you can review it. You would scroll down through it. I just have a snapshot of the top. You also will have round circles to the right-hand side of this, which I didn't capture, that you can click on, and those are the steps. If you notice, this is step 5. If you click the first circle, it would be step 1, where you can go back and edit if you need to. That's just to review it before you submit it. Next slide. So as you continue, you're going to be requested to attest, and I've put a red arrow to make sure you check that box. If you wish to have a downloaded copy of your application, you would click print. That will give you a downloaded copy. So once you have everything all done, you would click continue. Next slide, please. And then you would click your submit button. So once that's clicked, I'm going to go to the next slide, John. And this is what it looks like. It still allows you to submit. Please do not click on it. If you get the green bar, you have successfully submitted your proposal, and the person who is the contact will receive an email that the application has been successfully submitted. Next slide. So this is just a brief overview of the evaluation criteria that will be used to review the applications. The RFQ includes detailed information. We just took some bullet points and highlighted them. So please, I encourage you to read the RFQL. Certainly read the evaluation criteria when answering the questions. And next slide, John. And this is the second page of the evaluation criteria. So I know that was a lot to take in. So I'll see if there's any questions. How do we sign up as a consultant to be AJ? To be a consultant into the pool, AJ, you would go through this process that I just outlined, applying through the RFQL, and that you would then be a consultant in the pool. Latoya, I am not a consultant, but looking to partner work with your consultant firm for this venture. We don't have a consultant firm, Latoya, but we will capture your question. How do you envision a chamber of commerce in a rural low-income area assisting you? The chamber would be part of the pool, and depending upon the NYSERDA team need and what task work order. So I can't speak to what work will be done because I don't know, but this is just a pool that qualifies you as the experienced organization in your community to engage with disadvantaged communities. So whatever program need might be, if it's advising on something, a task work order would go out to all of the consultants, or the teams have the option to directly contract with the consultants that are already in the pool. So I could see them, engaging with their rural low-income area on whatever the topic may be. Is there any hands raised, John?
Not at this time.
Okay, I'm going to pass this back to Lisa to close us out.
Thanks so much, Lori. Thank you for that very, very intense step-by-step review. I think that's extremely helpful for our applicants to see what that looks like. So just some helpful tips, as Lori Michelle shared. There's a lot that has been put into this webinar to really help you to be successful in applying for the application. Some helpful tips that we'd like to recommend is just to start early. It is an open enrollment process. However, we feel that the more you go through it, if you allow yourself sufficient time, you will be able to flag any questions or issues you might have. Please make sure that you just follow the order of the application along with the solicitation. If you respond to the questions, that'll be exactly what is needed for the scoring committee to review. Again, focus on the content, not the length. So long as you answer the questions as outlined, that's the information that we're looking for. And then finally, in the next slide, we're going to refer to a contact information where Lori and I will share our information for any questions you may have regarding the application, submission, anything at all. John, can you advance to the next slide, please? Great. So right now we've tried to answer some questions in the chat. I know things are going live, but this is our dedicated Q&A time that we'd like to dedicate to answering any questions you may have that we haven't already answered. Again, you can type it into the chat, you can raise your hand, and John will call on you to answer your question. So with that, John, I'll hand it over to you. Oh, sorry. And yes, next steps. A recording of this informational webinar, along with all of the frequently asked questions, will be made available after the webinar. We encourage you to have other organizations in your network to apply. We're very excited that we've made this an open enrollment and a continuous opportunity to increase our engagements with DAC stakeholders who are interested in serving as consultants in this pool. Important to note that all responses to questions will be posted anonymously. And finally, NYSERDA's written response will supersede any content provided in this webinar.
Lisa, just to round out our Q&A here, I think there are some questions in the chat that have come through. I think some attendees are looking for an example of work that may come through the Disadvantaged Communities Consultant Pool for a community solar or a hydrogen project. Well, I cannot give a specific example because I don't have one in the pipeline today. It is not it's not unreasonable to think that a NYSERDA program team might have a community solar or even a hydrogen related project to discuss with community-based organizations or community representative stakeholders. So it's not out of field, but we don't have an advisory group handling this particular set of topics in the present.
Thank you for that, Michelle. I think that's absolutely correct. And we are going to start seeing, more services from program teams, and solar obviously will be one of them. So although we don't have a use case now, we may have potential for future services with solar and the other hydrogen instance.
And just noting a request for clarification on eligibility, if whether or not the Disadvantaged Community Consultant Pool participation is open to companies only or also individuals. So you'll want to take a look at the organization eligibility criteria that's available and spelled out in the summary document in the RFQL Program Opportunity Notice page. So I think Lisa will either drop the link to that page in the chat here, or it will be included in our follow-up materials. So we are looking for organizations that are set up to do business as an organization, but that can be that can look a lot of different ways. So I'll suggest that you take a look at the eligibility criteria in the summary document. The summary document is an active hyperlink on the program opportunity notice page, and that summary document spells out eligibility. And then a question about when the next quarterly application review is after September. So we would anticipate with September being our Q3, Q4 timeline, we would anticipate about 3 months from that September date would be the next quarterly review period. If I'm incorrect about that, Lisa, you can let me know. But we would be probably looking out to Q1 2026 for the review cycle after this one. And
That
by
is
this one, I
absolutely
mean September.
correct, Michelle. Thank you.
Okay, I think those are the ones that I'm seeing. Thanks for the additional time.
John, might you want to go back to the Q&A slide just so we can give people some time to maybe ask additional questions? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Maybe, John, if you can advance to the contact info slide, please. So again, we hoped we provided you with a comprehensive overview of the purpose of the DAC pool, use case examples, and the application process. Please email any questions that you have to the public engagement at nyserda.ny.gov email. That group inbox is managed by our team on the back end. We will also compile any questions that we have there and we'll include it on the Q&A. And you can expect that we will post the recording Q&A, I would say within the next 2 weeks. And if you have any questions and you want to speak to us directly, Lori and my number is on there. We will also just specify when you do send, because we receive such a volume of emails, if you can just indicate the subject line RFQL 4922, that will help us identify those questions quickly. Okay, Lori, I'll hand it back off to you. Michelle, if you want to close out with any additional thoughts.
Thank you, Lisa. I just want to thank everybody for joining us. I appreciate you taking the time. I look forward to reviewing your applications, and please reach out if you have any questions. Michelle, any last words?
No additional last words from me. I do hope that you will consider applying for participating in the Disadvantaged Community Consultant Pool and spread the word to any organizations that you think would be a good fit. We really and sincerely want to bring organizations representing disadvantaged communities and environmental justice communities to the table here, and we're doing our best to facilitate that process and to smooth it out over time. We appreciate your patience with this process and really look forward to seeing you in other venues. Thanks so much.